e4 e5, and now you have to make a decision. Will you play boring chess? Or aggressive chess? Sacrifice a pawn. And if you think we're going to take it back, you're not wrong. You're extremely wrong. Sacrifice another pawn. And guess what? You sacrifice another pawn. This looks bad, but now you have a stupidly dominant bishop pair, and your opponent has literally nothing. This position has a 58 against 39% win rate because most people can't handle your massive dominant Danish gambit. I'll show you one of the main attacks. But don't try to remember every move. I just want to show you a list of great aggressive openings, and at the end of the video you can pick one that you want to study. Back to the Danish gambit. Many people are confused and play knight f6. That's convenient, because they're absolutely cooked. You just push your pawn. Now the most common move is this. You sacrifice your bishop, bait the king, and then attack with the queen. Realizing the full-scale catastrophe, they retreat. Here you take the knight and they're actually completely done. The king is exposed and can't even castle anymore. Literally zero development. But you have already conquered the board. Are you confused? Good, because that means your opponent will be confused. If you study it, the Danish gambit is arguably one of the best aggressive openings. But I like the next one even more. You play e4 e5. And please remember, you don't have to remember the moves right now. Just look at all the openings and pick one at the end of the video. Attack the pawn and they defend the pawn, very common moves. You develop the bishop and they do the same. These are literally the most common moves. But now, push this pawn. Okay, so it's double attacked and you don't defend it at all? Correct. This peasant will not survive. They usually take it and you instantly push back. They go back to the same spot. That's it, you can surrender. Just kidding, conquer the center. The win rate is 57 against 40% right now. You totally dominate the center and they have to retreat the bishop. So black just made 3 bishop moves in a row while you conquered the center. There are lots of traps and attacks. And if you play this well against somebody who doesn't know the Evans Gambit, you will find dozens of ways to ruin your opponent's life. The next opening is for black. If white opens the game with d4, you can play the Dutch defense, a very aggressive counter-attack. It's a really solid option, but let's not lose too much time on this one. d4 isn't the most common move and there's not much to say about the Dutch defense. e4 is the most common move. In that case, you can play e5. They usually bring out the knight, attacking your pawn, and most people defend the pawn. But this wouldn't be chess page 1 if I told you to defend your pawn. Try counter-attacking. White pretty much always takes. And now you make another dubious move. Knight c6. Most people trade off the knights, and now you have a slightly worse position than your opponent. Congratulations. However, it will be very easy for you to target the weak f2 pawn. There are dozens of attacks and threats and there is no way your opponent has any clue how to play against the Stafford Gambit. Even players up to 2000 rating often fall for the Stafford Gambit attacks. But let's look at an easier opening. e4 e5, attack, defend, bishop out, we know this stuff. Now black attacks your pawn. And instead of defending, you attack the king side. Your bishop and knight are targeting the weak f2 square that's only defended by the king. This is called the fried liver attack and it's actually pretty good in low elo. But if you're above 600 rating, don't even think about using it. The next opening is really weird. You open with this pawn. Looks stupid, but just watch this. They always play e5. You develop the bishop, attacking the pawn. And now something crazy happens. The second most played move below 1800 elo is this. They think they're so smart, they will defend their pawn and attack our pawn at the same time. But I can simply push this. You goofball. Now they have to move their knight, leaving the pawn undefended. But that's not even the craziest thing. The most common move is this, blocking the attack, because they refuse to lose the pawn. But you just push another pawn. I feel like the moment you open with an unconventional move, most low elo players are stunned and confused and will do anything in their power to make sure they lose the game. Because what happens next is genuinely mind-blowing. The most common move again is this. They capture your pawn. But you can literally just take the knight. Now you have a better position and more material. It's literally insane that anyone makes these mistakes. Next up is this opening. It's probably the most brutally aggressive gambit for black. It's also extremely rare. There's no way your opponent knows how to play against it. By the way, after this there are 2 more openings, and one of them is my personal all-time favorite. But first, here's how the gambit works. e4, e5 and knight f3, very common boring moves. But now you go f5, the Latvian gambit. Most people take on f5 and after that you push your pawn, asserting dominance. Fast forward, your position might look something like this. This is a certified bye-bye moment for white. It's definitely one of the most aggressive openings for black. But let's face a new problem. You're white, trying to play an aggressive opening but your opponent is playing the Burke defense or King's Indian. Now you're done, no more fun. Is something I would never say. I actually found a super easy way to turn this into an aggressive game. The average King's Indian player will strictly follow their routine and completely ignore your moves. So you sneak in this bayonet attack. They always castle, and now you push again. And black has a problem. Taking your pawn like this would destroy the castle and expose the king. Taking the pawn with the knight also doesn't work because you recapture and they have to destroy the castle again. So most of them completely ignore your attack. And even the engine ignores the attack, because it's too late, it can't be stopped. So they do something like this and you disrupt the castle. They don't want to open this line for your rook so they usually capture like this. And from here on you really just want to go on a rampage. Rip the center apart. Develop your bishop while giving check over this open diagonal. This king is in a very weak spot. Trade off queens and bring your knight closer to the king. I think you can see where this is going. There are hundreds of ways to win this game, one of them is this. It's such a simple attack and most people can't defend their castle. Now I only have one more opening for you, and it's the greatest opening of all time. You open with e4 e5 and bring out the knight. By the way, this opening is super tactical. Meaning you need to be good at tactics to win the game. Well, 90% of all chess games are won due to a tactic. Getting better at tactics should be your main priority. Actually, here's a lesson from ChessPage University. I've seen people who were stuck, suddenly start gaining a lot of elo. And it was never because they learned some new opening. Every single time, the reason for their improvement was tactical skill. That's why we're mainly focusing on the pattern recognition training in ChessPage University. I just wanted to remind you that openings are nice, but they won't help you as much as tactics. If you want to see what's the best way to improve tactics in my experience, check out the ChessPage University page, there's a video explaining it. Alright, let's get back to the gambit. They defend the pawn. And you end up in the most boring position, the 4 knights game. But we're going to switch things up. If you're watching ChessPage 1 videos, you probably agree that more aggressive equals more fun. So today, we will take the pawn. Yes, they can capture the knight. No, you don't get it back. It's just gone. But we push this pawn, conquering the center. And now your win rate is a lot higher than theirs. There are 2 reasonable options. They can go here, in that case buckle up. You can still win the game but it will be hard. Or they go here. You basically won the game. Keep pushing, attack the knights, just don't stop. You're dominating the board. Now break up their defense and have fun with the tactical warfare. Remember, chess is not about winning. It's about making your opponent feel like a worthless idiot. Now you have 3 options. Watch the Evans Gambit Guide, watch the Halloween Gambit Guide, or check out ChessPage University if you want to improve your tactics.